start with exception handling, which is very important when you are doing a modularized coding or task. Okay.
Okay.
Exception handling. Do you have any idea in what exactly this one? In any other program, this is not a new concept, but a basic concept in any programming language.
We have learned in Java.
Ah, correct. So the same thing, the concept is same. So basically, first you need to understand what exactly the exception. Okay. So
Okay.
exceptions are an events or an events that disrupt execution of the program. Okay.
Okay.
Normal flow of a program. This is a basic definition. So first thing was why they will occur. So these exceptions will occur when an error is encountered during the execution. Okay, whenever if you have an error while executing the code or due to any kind of issue, right? The error might be due to some backend issue, or maybe your logic issue, or maybe some value whichever the user is entering, right? So there can be a multiple errors will happen, right? So it can occur due to any error. So common exceptions, okay. Yeah, commonly you will get exceptions related to zero division error when you are dividing with zero, right? Without knowing your denominator is zero, okay. And then maybe file not found error. Let's say value errors also you usually get, and any type mismatch. Let's say you are trying to access input data type as int, but people are entering float or like a string value. Okay, so this is the kind of errors you will get. So how do you handle these things? So exception. That's why we have a concept called Python. I mean exception handling in Python that allows you to handle these errors gracefully and then take corrective ways or like actions without interrupting any kind of a flow in the program. Okay, so I will tell you how do you handle all those things. So we will try to understand the basic operations of exception, including there are keywords called. We have to understand try, except, else, and finally. So these are the different keywords, or you can think like a block of codes, which Python will allow us to handle these exceptions easily. Okay, so let's go and see like how do you write it. So first thing was we'll see like a exception with try except block. Okay, how do you handle it? So whatever the code. Okay, first I will write some sample code and I will explain you later. Let me complete that. I am writing something like this. Okay. So now if I write like this, what exactly is happening here? So the try is a block which will handle not handle like which will uh, let you know to write the code which you think like it is the error may occur. So whatever the code you feel like these statements or like this kind of this block of code which will have like a or like in the future it may occur any exception or like any error. Those things you have to keep under a try block. Once you keep those blocks in the try block and once the errors are occurred, what you have to do? You have to handle those things, right? So those handling code and everything you have to keep in a except block. Okay. So if you see in the sample example, what I did was try equal to try in the try block I wrote a equal to b, right? But ideally, when I write a equal to b, so what I am doing here, I am assigning a value b to a variable a. But do I have value b? No, right? So I know that this statement will throw an error. So maybe if I execute like this, let's say if I'm executing like this, see, it will throw an error of name error because B is not having any, B doesn't have any value, or like it was not defined, right? So I assume, I know like it will throw error. So, but I need to handle this. So that's why I kept this line in try block. And then currently I'm not doing any kind of a operations or further things. I'm just printing the value, or like the variable is not being assigned. Okay. So see, now I'm not able to, I remove this error, right? So which means that I've handled the error. Now there is no error. My program was not stopped here. The program was successfully executed. Okay. So this is how you can handle a basic exceptions by using try and except block. Okay. So now
Okay.
this is how you can write like some common or like a custom data or like a custom message. Let's say if I want to print this itself, right? This is a error that you got from a Python interpreter. Okay, how do I print this one? You can easily print that. Let's say if I am writing same thing. So for that, except. So here you have to define the class. Okay, we call this name error is a class. Okay, so you know this error definitely will occur. So you just need to keep that as a the name here, and then maybe you can give alias, and you can print that directly. So now what I did, see, I know like this error definitely will occur, and I'm directly calling the error. This is the definition. Okay, this is the class and corresponding the definition. Now when the error is occurred, I know like name error will occur, and then whenever it is occurred, directly I'm accessing the definition from the Python interpreter itself. I'm not doing any kind of a custom message. You can also keep custom message also, but this is a better way. Like when you are doing some kind of a logging or like some kind of other things, you can easily know at what position the error was occurred, or like at what variable it is occurred, right? So let's say if you are seeing the logs, the variable has not been assigned. This is a general statement. You don't know where it is occurred, correct? Until unless you can write back the line name, line number. But here if you see B is not defined, so it has like a more confidence that yes, the error was because of B was not defined. Okay, so this is how you can get the entire definition of the error message of the interpreter. Okay, so now I told you, right, we can also do custom messages. So you can, let's say if I am writing something like this, a equal to 1/0. Now I know like there is a zero division error will come because 1/0 is not defined. So now 0. Okay, let me take the class name. Zero division I know, but just getting the correct statement here. Zero division I will get. Okay, I'm handling that, and I will also print my custom message. Okay, sometimes what you have to do was maybe you need to tell to the user, okay, don't enter zero, or like maybe give some other number, right? So that how do you tell? So that custom message we have to keep here. Please enter the denominator greater than 0. Okay. So now if I see, you know that it is a division by error, and then you are saying to the user that please enter the denominator greater than 0. Correct? So this is the best way, right? So instead of just simply showing the message, what you can do is you can also suggest the recommendations. So in that case, this kind of a syntax or like this kind of a statements will be useful. Okay. So now, so far we handled only one type of exception, correct? In one line only we got the error. What if there is a bigger function and you will get a multiple exceptions? Or like a for loop is there. In the for loop, maybe the loops are, you will have like a variable, and then there's a maybe you are going into infinite loop or somewhere. There will be another error is occurring. You don't know, right? So in those cases, how do you handle multiple exceptions? Let's say I have a block of code like this, A equal to B, and then maybe I will write result equal to uh, 1 by 2. Okay, let's write like this. Okay, so now you will get only one error, right? Where you will get a equal to b condition, right? So exception, and but I don't know whether the user will enter the value here 0 or not, correct? So you never know this error also will occur, this error also will occur, correct? So now how do you handle? You can handle all those things at a single snippet of code. So maybe I will keep like this. And then I know like I will also get the name error. Maybe I will handle these things as well. Okay. Maybe I will need to give the one more alias. Maybe I will write main exception got here. Okay. So you see the error was occurred here, and then this except block was executed and then it came. Okay. So now if I print here, see your program was not, I mean, it did not go through here. Try, or like, sorry, it did not go to the result statement. Why? Because here itself exception was occurred, and then it checked where can I handle these things, or like whether it's a zero division error, whether it's a name error, right? So it's a name error, and then it came here, and then it went out. Okay, so this is how you can handle multiple exceptions also. From a single statement, you never know, right? Which error you will get. Okay. Now, let's say one more example was you are taking an input from a user, and then it may be not a valid number, correct? Or maybe you are just doing a division operation, and then the denominator is greater than 0, but maybe they are entering some string value, or maybe they are entering some other value. Float is okay, this one will happen, but different data type, right? So that's a kind of a value error. Okay, so how do you handle that? So you can just put everything inside a try block. Let's say I'm asking the user to input an integer. Okay, enter a number, and I just want to get the division of that by 10. Now here, tell me how many types of errors will occur. First thing was, I need to understand whether this is an integer or not, correct? If not, one error will come, right? So that maybe the value error. So now I will just print here. This is not a valid number. Let's say even if they enter, right? 0 is also a number, right? So, but it won't execute, so it will throw an error. So I will just add entered denominator greater than 0. Okay, this is what I'm saying. Let's say you never know. Maybe there will be another exception is apart from value error, apart from division error. We don't know, right? So there are so many errors may occur. Correct. In that case, you can use, there is a base class called exception, which you can easily handle, and then you can easily print. So when you are adding this statement, which means that you don't need to worry about like what kind of error I may get, whether it is a zero error, name error, anything. Okay. So you can use like an exception, which is a base class in the Python. So you can use that as a option, and then you can just print it. Let's say if I'm entering that, see this is a not a valid error. So if I'm entering 0, 0, you should throw error 1 second. Let me restart. 1 second. Invalid. Let me enter 0. Yeah. So enter the denominator greater than 0. So I'm able to handle these two exceptions. It is, I mean, in these two lines, I got like two errors and then I'm able to handle it. Okay. So this is about the try and except. I hope this makes sense. Or like, do you have any doubts so far?
No. No.
Okay, we'll go for like a one other, no, sorry, another block which is called else block. Right. So try, except, and else block. Let's say we'll take the same thing. What we are doing was, I will write else block in such a way that let me write here. I just want to print something to the user. Okay. The result is right. Okay. So, or maybe I will write something like this. We found divide by 0. So first thing, if I use num here, see this is not a value. Okay. And then if I use 0, this input is always a different condition. Yeah. Okay, so it's results. Again, I need to restart. I don't understand why this kernel is executing sometimes it won't. Okay. Cool. See, if you see here, what I'm doing here was, I'm able to handle the exceptions and all. Okay. Let's say if I'm using Udai and then done, I'm able to get like this is not valid. So I handle the error here. And then let's say 0. So I'm able to do. But this else block, right? Even let's say after some, I mean, if the code is successfully executed and then you want to show some other messages, right? In that case, you can use the else block. Let's say if I am doing like the number, normal number, so 10, and then I'm able to, I don't have any errors here, right? So in that case, I can directly print this result here. Okay. So in this way, you can use like a else block. So if you don't have any errors, what are the next steps? You can just enter into a else block. Okay. So it's just like if and else. If the error is there, you can handle else, you can print it. Or you can go for a else block. Clear? So that's the use of else block. Just remember in such a way that if and else. If there is a condition, if block will execute, not else block, right? So in a similar way, if there is error, the exception except block will do. If not, else block. And then there is a one more keyword called finally. Okay. Let's say if I write something like this, finally execution is complete, right? So now what this finally block will do was, irrespective of the error, this code block will execute. Let's say if I am having any kind of exceptions here, after handling these exceptions, this finally block will obviously execute. Okay. So sometimes you will get a situation that even the error is occurred and then you want to print some kind of a statement which let you know for your purpose to enhance your product and all. In those situations, you can keep that entire code in the finally block and you can log into the logger file. Then you can do another analysis later. Okay, let me execute like this. So now if you see, I'm able to handle this exception and then the finally block code is also executed. Correct? So This is the use of the finally block. Any doubts so far?
No, they.
Yeah, so I think this is about the exception handling. So you can just practice with the different types of exceptions, and then maybe you can try to see. And when we are doing like a more end-to-end project, right, so I will show you like how you can use these exceptions and all those things in the modularized. Okay. So, but just
Okay.
try to understand what is the basic uses of this try, except, else, and finally different blocks and all, and what is the use of these things. That's enough for
Okay.
now. Yeah, when we are doing a modularized project, then I will write in such a way that where you will get to know like, okay, how do you handle in the project, and what kind of errors you will get, right? Sometimes in the data pipeline, when the data ingestion is not happening, some error will come, but you want to see what is that error. So those things you can log all those things in the logger class. I will show you those concepts later, then you will understand. So there's a one more concept, or like a normal concept we will go and see like oops. Okay. So in here we will try to understand the classes, basic oops concept. What is object-oriented programming, right? And then like we have like a basic uh, concept like inheritance, polymorphism, encapsulation, right? We will try to understand all those things in Python. The same concepts will be there, but how do you do in a Python? The little bit of syntax will be different. Right? So object-oriented programming is a programming paradigm that uses like a objects to design your applications and computer programs. That's a book of definition, right? So this OPP will allow you to modeling your real world scenarios using classes and objects. Okay, so in this, maybe we'll see like what is the basics of the creating classes, objects, including some kind of a different variables, instance variables, and methods. So all those things we can discuss. So it's basically a collection of classes and objects, right? So if you ask me what is a class is a blueprint for creating objects, attributes, and methods, right? This is a basic definition or a basic thing you can remember. So let's say if I have a class called car, okay? So in Python, writing the class will start with the class keyword followed by space, and then you will have a class name. Inside that you can write, or like you can just hit enter, you will get that indentation. So for now I'm not writing anything. So I'm writing a pass. Pass is nothing but we learned, right? It's nothing but it's just a nothing, do nothing, right? So it's successfully executed, right? So this is how you can write a class. Now, if you ask me, how do I call that class? So for class, you can create an objects. So for creating an object, you can just use this method in a methodic way, car, and then I'm creating some kind of an object, let's say Audi, and then maybe BMW. I can create any number of class objects, right? So now I created objects here. If you ask me whether these objects are what type, right? So type of Audi. See, it is a class of car, correct? So whenever if you see, let's say A equal to 2, I'm writing, and then if I see the type of A, it is an int class, right? In the similar way, so we have a class called car because this is custom, right? So that's why we are able. Let me if I write something. I will also add print statement. See, it is a class of int. So the Audi is an object and it is a class of car. So if you are seeing this main, right, because like it is not a default interpreter class, right? So that's why you are seeing this slash sorry, underscore main. So this is one of the magic function or magic methods. We call these as the magic methods. And then inside that you have a class. Okay. So this Audi is is belong to a class called car. Okay. And then we'll see like what exactly this Audi. If I print this, it will give me the core object, right? So this is an object which we created for a class. Okay, so RD is a core object. Okay, so now let's say if I am creating some kind of an attribute for RD, maybe I am creating another attribute called Windows. Car will have Windows, right? And then I'm assigning for, let's say if I am RD.Windows, see, I'm able to get this Windows attribute for the object. Okay, so this is how you can create a basic. I mean, this is just a basics of the class, and then how do you call the class? How do you access the class, right? You can access by creating objects, and how do you get the attributes in the class, right? So you can use the object and follow the attribute name, and then you can get the values, and you can also call the similar way. Let's say if we have a function here, and then how do I call that? You can access by using a class object. Okay. Now let's see. This is the base about the class and then object. Now we'll see like what exactly instance variable and method. Instance variable and method. So instance variable and methods are nothing but if there is any kind of a values which you are creating for a class, right? So it will be accessible inside the class. Those called a instance variable and instance methods. Let's say if I am creating a class called dog, then I will write one thing here. It's called constructor. Okay, constructor. So the constructor will have like a init method. This is one of the special method I told you, right? So in previous day also we talked about like this init.py file. In the similar way, so we have to use like a init method. This is one of the base method you have to create inside a class. I will take the use of this init method is nothing but whenever if the class is called or like the object is initialized, all the variables and methods inside the class will be just initialized. Okay, initialized to the values. Now, what I am doing was the self keyword. Right, this is self is also one of the keyword in the Python, so which tells you these values are instant to the class. Okay, so self name age. Name comma age are parameters. Self is a keyword. Okay. So now I just need to assign these values, right? Self dot age age. So I let's say if I am calling this class, and then whenever I pass like a name equal to some value and age equal to value, I'm passing to this dog class, and then it should be assigned to some values, right? So that's what I'm doing here. I'm just assigning these values to some variables. Okay. So this is about the class creation, and then we call this name comma age or instance variable, and then init is a one basic method which we call as the instance. Now, how do you call this thing? So first thing you need to create an object. How do you create? Maybe I'm creating a dog one here, dog. I'm getting error here because I passed name comma age, right? So which means that this class is expecting two arguments. So you need to pass here. So let's say I'm creating a body, then two. Okay. So now it asks me if I print dog one. Okay. I think this change. Dog one. It's a dog object, correct? And then how do I access this name? I can access using dog comma name, dog comma age. That's it. Sorry. Yeah, this is how you can access the attributes of the class, right? So now I can also create like one more object class. You can create a number of objects for similar class. Let's say if I have C and then give some other value, and I will just print here, print dog two comma name, print dog two comma age. You can just right. So this is called accessing the values, the instance values, instant variables, and instant, assigning the values to the instant variables inside a class. Now let's try to see. I will write a one more method. See, this is an instant, this is a constructor, right? So we'll try to see like how do you write a method and then how do you access. Let's say if I have the same thing here, and then maybe I'm writing a one more method, park, and it doesn't require any kind of a variables here. I'm just taking the name of the dog and I'm just printing something. It's self dot name says something. Okay. So if I am writing like this, okay. So now let's say if I want to access this bar, how do I get? So it's nothing but dot2 dot bar. See, so I'm able to access this bar is an instance method inside a class. Okay. So this is how you can access this. Any doubts on this?
No, they.
uh, class which is maybe like we'll see like some bank account. Okay, class is bank account. Maybe we'll see like some of the basic operations how you will do, right? So basic are depositing, withdrawing, right, and then you will see the get balance. So all these three operations, how it is working, and how you are defining in a class basic. Okay, so simple banking account operations. Let's say I can call bank account and creating a class here. Inside that first I'm initializing. This is the basic thing. Okay, this constructor you must write in it whenever you write a class. Okay, owner and then balance. Currently I'm starting at 0 because like if there is no balance, what should we do? So the default value we can keep as a 0, right? So that's the default value. Let's say owner name equal to owner self dot balance equal to balance. And then first thing was I'm just doing a deposit. Let's say I'm writing the deposit method. If there is a deposit, what I need to do? I need to take that amount. I need to sum to the existing balance. Correct? That's what I need to do. I just need to balance and maybe I will write in this way and also write this way, the plus operation in simpler. Self dot balance. And then I'm just printing the message to user, right? So it's better to print the amount is deposited, new balance is self dot balance. Okay, this is about the deposit. Let's say if I withdraw. So what are the functions I need to do for withdraw? Again, I need to take the amount, correct? And then I need to reduce from the balance after withdraw. First thing you need to check whether the withdrawal amount is exist or not, right? So let's say your bank account is your bank balance is 100 rupees, but you are requesting for like 1,000 rupees, right? In that case, the operation should not perform. So maybe you need to display something like insufficient funds, all those things, right? So we can write if amount greater than self dot balance, print insufficient funds, else we can go for a withdrawal. Self dot balance, you need to subtract that amount from the balance. Once the withdrawal is done, you can just print amount is withdrawn, new balance is self dot balance. Okay. Okay. This is the withdrawal. Let's say they are just asking for the get balance. Get balance. You can just self. Do you need any kind of a parameter here? No, right? So just wanted to see, they just wanted to see the balance, right? So just bring the, or maybe you can also, maybe I will just return here in a different way rather than printing return self dot balance. Okay, so this is a basic class I created. Now let's see. We have to see first, like we can create some kind of account, and then we can see. When I say account, right? So just need to call this what it is expecting. It is expecting owner and then balance. Correct? Maybe I will create my name here, and then initially I'm just initializing with 5,000, and then account. See, if I do this, I did not call any of these methods, correct? So I just created an account here, and then let's say if I want to see what is my balance, so account dot, I can directly get this one also because I'm directly accessing instance variable here. Let's say I can also call my method also, this one, get balance, right? See, I'm able to get the balance also. Now let's say if I'm doing a deposit here, so for deposit, I just need to call deposit, and maybe I need to pass one more 1,000. See, 1,000 is deposited, new balance is 6,000. Okay, this is how you can get balance. Let's say if I am doing the day account dot withdraw. In the withdraw, maybe I am doing like a 500. See, I'm able to see bring 500 is withdraw, and new balance is 5500. Okay. Any doubts so far? So these are basic things you can write in a class, and then get methods. How do you call the object? How do you do those things? I hope it is clear. You can just practice like any other scenarios or all those things. Then you will try to understand. Okay, so I will take that as a model, and then I will go for another concept, which is inheritance. Right? Let's go and see quickly what is inheritance. So inheritance, right? So it's a basic fundamental concept in any object-oriented programming that allows you to inherit a class, right? So inherit the class attributes or like properties from another class. So you created a bank account previously, but that bank account maybe in some other project the people need to use. How do you inherit, right? Sorry, not inherit. How do you utilize those entire properties and then class things, right? So maybe in some other transaction project, people are asking like, how do I get the balance? You don't need to write entire statements or like entire code, everything. Instead of that, you can just import, or like is there any way that I can directly utilize attributes and methods from the class, right? So that is called inheritance. So you can just leverage uh, the class properties and class methods by using inheritance here. So we'll try to see like what is single inheritance, multiple inheritance, and see. Okay. Let's say we have a very simple thing here. Inheritance that allows a class to inherit attributes and methods from another class. So that's the definition. Okay. Now here we have like a single inheritance, multiple inheritance. So now let's see. Let's say I have a class card, and then here I have a basic methods. Self. I have a parameters called windows, doors, engine, right? And then maybe let's send these things. Set the doors equal to doors. Set the engine equal to engine. Now maybe I'm just creating a one more method called drive, right? I'm just printing here the person will drive the what kind of a engine, maybe let's say it is an engine type, let me write engine type, not instead of engine. What kind of a car he is driving, maybe whether he is driving petrol car or like a diesel car, right? So that is what I'm trying to print here. Second. Okay, there is a curly braces missed. Right. So this is how it created. Let's say I'm creating an object, just wanted to test whether this is working or not. First, I need to pass like a 4 windows, 5 doors, and then I will call petrol. And then let's see if I am calling this drive. Yeah, so I made it. So now let's say this is a base class, right? So for this should work for any kind of a engine type. Let's say maybe if I'm doing like a self-driving car or like maybe some other car, right? So I can easily use some of the parameters here, right? So maybe these windows, these doors, right? So these are all like a by default parameters every car will have, right? So I don't need to create, or like I don't need to write all these steps again in any kind of other classes. So let's say I'm building another class called Tesla, and here I'm writing in this way. Okay? Let me write and then I will explain so that it will be easy for you to understand. Int, and here I will write self, windows, doors, engine type, is self-driving. These are the parameters I'm trying to do. Now, this self-driving is the only parameter is a new thing, correct? The all are old parameters. I don't need to write extra statements here. Maybe I can leverage this car base class, right? I can directly use these base parameters and I can put it, or like I can utilize in the Tesla. I don't need to write again like these 3 lines, right? So what I need to do was I can just use these attributes from the car class. How do I do that? So for that, first you need to do inheritance. So when I do inheritance, it is nothing but, if you see here, I did not do any kind of a parenthesis for a class here. But when you want to do inheritance, you just need to put like a method, class name, and put like a method, and then you have to get the base class which you want to inherit inside the parenthesis. Okay, this is how you can do inheritance. But now let's say, how do I call these values, right? So you don't know whether these values are available or like it is belong to Tesla car or like is it inheriting from your base class. So for that, to inherit a values or like a method from a base class, you have a one more method called super. Super is a method which will let you know to inherit all the attributes and methods from the base class. Okay. So now I can just do init windows, doors, engine. Okay. So yeah, this is how I can inherit. Now let's say if I'm writing one more method called self-driving. So for this I don't need any kind of parameters here. I just need to print whether this is a self-driving or not. So Tesla supports self-driving. Maybe I will just self-driving is self-driving. Okay. So now see what I need to do. I need to do I need to just call this one. Now, how many parameters? Yeah, this is just let's see. It is expecting 4 arguments, but if you see, I just created only this is the primary argument for this class, and then all other 3 arguments are from I'm inheriting from the base class. Okay, which means that I'm leveraging those attributes from the car base class. Okay, so but I can reuse here. That is called inheritance here. So 4, 5, maybe I will use electric, and then I will say like, is it a self-driving? Yes. Let's say maybe I'm assigning a T1. an object called T1, right? So maybe I'll call T1 dot Windows. See, I'm able to get it, right? And then maybe if I'm able to this method, okay, let me call in a methodic way. Yeah, see, I'm able to get this. Clear? So this is how you can do a basic inheritance. Any doubts on this? So what I did here was, it is a single inheritance because I just inherited only one variable, right? Okay, so this is a single inheritance.
Uday, why is it printed like 4?
You passed four value, right? Like the Windows value. What is the number of values you passed? It's a four Windows.
Okay, like 4 numbers.
Yeah, it's a
We
four.
have
It's a
given
four
4,
number.
so or by number.
See, what you passed here, it's a number four,
4,
correct? That's
yeah.
what exactly printed here. So this value is going to a Windows, and then you are calling that attribute, and then what is the value is there? Four only, right? So
Okay, 4.
it will
Okay.
just print that.
Okay, got you.
Yeah. Now this is the only one way of allocate one only one class you are inheriting. Let's say you have a situation where you want to inherit multiple classes, right? How do you do that? Right? Maybe let me create another example. Multiple inheritance. So basic definition is nothing but when a particular class, when a class in, inherits more than one base class, right? So let's say if I'm creating a class animal, let's say I just create a unit here. I just put the name here. Self dot name equal to name. Self dot speak. I'll write something like this. Maybe here I just need to initialize which method. Self subclass must implement this method. Okay. So now let's say if I write another base class 2, class pet def init self owner. Okay, so for the pet, right, so you will have a owner also. So who is the owner? I need to see. Owner, owner. Okay, these are the two classes out there. So now what I need to do was, I need an animal. What animal? I mean, what is the name of the animal I need, and then what is the owner of the pet? Right, these are two are different classes, or maybe these are two are existing two different projects. But I'm utilizing a new project. Let's say I have a new class called dog, and I just wanted to get the name of the animal and then who is the owner, right? So you just need to initialize here self name owner, right? So but already those things are already initialized by other classes, right? So you can just inherit those. So you know how to inherit one single class. Just like put that class name inside the parentheses. You can also put a comma and then do multiple inheritors. See, I'm able to do multiple inheritors, right? So now you can also get the attributes directly like this also. Animal dot, if I am able to call init self dot name, right? And then pet init self owner, right? So I am calling the init methods of the those base classes, correct? And then speak. So here is the thing. There's a one thing what I did here was, if you see, there are two same methods are there, correct? So return what I'm doing here was return self dot name says same writing like this. Okay. So what I did here was I created a this is we call usually a derived class as well. You can think like derived class because you are deriving other classes. Derived class and these are all base classes. Class 1, class 2, and then why we are calling this as a multiple inheritance because you inherited two different classes, animal and pet. So you inherited those and access the attributes of name and then owner. Okay, and then it's just like a speak method. So you are just saying here you don't need to click here also. You can comment also, but it's just like I just wanted to show you here. Okay, so now if I execute this one, dog, it will expect like a two arguments, correct? So let's say the name of the dog maybe I will get Buddy, and then owner as Uday, right? And then and let's say D1 and assign like this, right? So D1 dot name, right? I'm able to get it. D1 dot owner, right? I'm able to get it. And then D1 dot, let's say if I want to get speak method, see? So I'm able to get it this method. Okay. So this is how you can do the multiple inheritance. I hope this makes sense. So you have n number of classes. Even if you have any 5, 6 number of classes, you can just put a comma here and then you can inherit it. Okay. That's about the inheritance in the groups. Now let's see what exactly the polymorphism, right? So polymorphism. Polymorphism. Okay, so it is also one of the core concepts in object-oriented programming that allows like objects of different classes to be treated as the objects of a common superclass. Right. So here we will use like some kind of a method overriding concepts. So this polymorphism is typically achieved through method overriding and then a interfaces concept. Right. So let's see like how do you do the method overriding in Python. Method overriding. Let's say maybe I will take the previous example itself. I have a class animal. I just mentioned the definition as speak, self, or return. It mentioning the sound of the animal. Let's say something like that. This is the only thing I'm writing. Now let's say I have a derived class. I have a class and then I'm doing a dog and I'm inheriting animal, def, speak, self, return to. Okay, this is my one derived class. Let's say I have like one more derived class called class cat, animal, and def, speak. Maybe the cat sound will do more. Okay. So let's say these are the two different classes, and then I just inherited, and then I have like a uh, I use like a same method here, correct? So what method overriding will allow you a single class to provide a specific implementation of the method that is already defined in a base class. Let's say here you already defined a one method, right? I mean the method called speak, but you are able to get the same method name and then the definition is different. So here you are returning something, here you are returning something, correct? So which means that you are doing a different implementation according to your child class. You can call this as a child class as well. Okay. So that is called method overriding. It will allow you the base derived class or like a child class to provide a specific implementation that is already present in a your base class. That's called method overriding. You are overriding the base class method, right? So now let's see how do I access this method override. Let's say if I'm creating a one more function called animal speak, and here I'm calling uh, let's say it required one parameter animal, and then print animal dot speak. Okay. See, this animal parameter is nothing but my object here. Okay. So let's say dog. I'm calling it. I'm creating a object for dog class. Right. So now you can use this dog dot speak. Correct. So it is giving like a oh. And then let's say if I am creating a one more class called one more object called cat. Cat is not defined because we did not create an object here. Cat. Right. So this is what it is doing. Right. So now here the animal. So I need to create a animal. I need to call this one, and then if I am passing like a dog here, let's see what will happen. This dog is an object, correct? See, what it is doing was usually if I call this method, sorry, if I call the method inside the animal, I should get the sound of the animal, right? But why it is giving like a oof? Why? Because we are passing an object here, and then you are calling, right? So which means that you are overriding the animal class, and then it is giving like the definition according to the child class. That's called overriding. Clear? Yeah. Okay. I will take the demo. So you can just practice like one or two examples. Right. So let's try to understand. There is a one more thing called polymorphism with abstract based classes. Okay. First thing we need to understand what is the abstract based classes. Polymorphism with abstract based classes. Right. So abstract based classes are used to define a common method for a group of related objects. So these will enforce the derived classes implement a particular method, and then across the different implement, and then it will implement the particular methods, and then that will can promote across any kind of implementation. Let's say maybe in some other product you are accessing. So that is also this abstract method will be doable. Okay, so you can also do polymorphism or like method overriding using your ABC classes. So we'll see how do you do. So we can use from ABC. We are just importing few modules here. ABC abstract method. Okay, I think this is a small one. Yeah. So what we can do here was what we can just define an abstract class, and then we can inherit those things in a derived class and see how we are doing a method override. Okay. Let's say if I am creating an abstract class here, define abstract class vehicle, right? So I'm inheriting ABC here, okay, because ABC is a base class, and then I'm defining a one more class. I'm inheriting, and then I'm creating a custom class here, right? So let's say if I have a start engine, maybe I will write something like this. Insert. Okay, I'm not doing anything, so I'll just pass here. So how do you define whether this method is an abstract method or not? Okay, so to define an abstract, whether see currently it is a normal method, but I want to know whether this is an abstract method or not. So to do that, we just need to keep some kind of a decorator on top of the method. I will tell you in detail what exactly this decorator will do in the later stages. But when I write like something like, so I'm saying that this start engine is not a normal method; it's an abstract method. Okay. Now let's say like I can create a one derived class car, and I'm editing this vehicle. I'm just ensuring the spelling is correct. Yeah. Now I'm defining the start engine definition. Okay. So I created a method, abstract method on the top, but I did not do any definition. I just did a pass, right? Which means that it's nothing. Now I'm doing a definition of that method. So for engine started. Okay. I can also create maybe motorcycle. I will say like motorcycle engine was started. Right? You can simply call these things. You can do the start vehicle, right? And then I will just print here, call this vehicle dot start engine. Okay, I need to call in a method way. Yeah. So now I'll just create a car object. The car. If I pass this, if I call this method and I'm passing a car object, see the car engine was started. Let's say if I create a motorcycle object, motor, and I can just call it. I did not execute it. Yeah. So motorcycle engine was started. See what we are doing here also you are doing a method overriding element. So in your base class you have a start engine method, correct? But you did not do any kind of a statements here. But in your child class, you are overriding the method by defining the child class properties. That's called overriding, right? So, and then we are accessing it. That is the entire concept of polymorphism. So, it's just nothing but like overriding the base class or like a super class properties. That you can do in a two ways. One is using your normal method or like a normal method way, or you can also do using your abstract method, abstract classes. Okay, these are all called abstract class and abstract methods. Okay, so this is about the polymorphism.
Okay, Uday.
Before going into this, before going to next. Okay, now let's see one more concept called encapsulation. Encapsulation. See, to be honest, these concepts we won't use in the real world of the data scientist or like a data analyst or any kind of a person. Okay, so but it's just good to know when you are applying for any interviews. In interviews, maybe they will ask, but very hardly you will apply these concepts in a data scientist role. Okay, maybe if you are going for a software engineer, you would have applied, but in data science, so see, personally, I never applied this inheritance, polymorphism in any of my data science projects. Okay, so but
Okay.
it's good to know. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah. So what exactly encapsulation? So encapsulation is also a concept of the OOPS or again object-oriented programming. It will just wrap up the data. It is nothing but wrapping the data and methods together in a single unit and restricting the access instead of showing all the data points or all the data or all the components. Maybe we can show only some of the values or like some of the data, and then uh, we are restricting the access. That's it. Okay, it means that preventing the accidental information, data leak, or like a misuse of the data. Right. So that is nothing but an encapsulation. Okay, we'll see like some examples on how the access restriction is doing or not. Let's say one second. So here is a concept called public, protected, private. All those things will come. And encapsulation is nothing but you can create a restriction of the variables, methods, all this. Okay, so let's say if I am creating a class called person and I'm initializing int self name age, right? So if you see, let's say if I'm writing like this, name self dot age equal to age, I just creating a get name. Okay, maybe I will write this outside the function, outside of the class. See here. So I'm writing outside of the class and I'm passing a object here and return person dot name. Okay. So now see, if I am doing here, if I am accessing in this way, let's say if I create an object for person and Uday, and then let's say I'm person 20, and then we are creating an object here. I'm calling a method get name, passing a person object. It is returning, right? So I need to just use that. Okay, so it is returning, it is printing, right? What it is returning name, right? So now I'm able to access these values inside the class by, I mean, outside of the class, right? I'm able to access outside of the class these values, correct? So we call these as a public variables, right? Because you are able to access without any restriction, right? Anybody can access outside of the class, right? So this is we call as a public variables. Clear? So now we can create some kind of a private variables which you can't access outside of the class, right? So how do I do that? Let's say maybe I can copy this entire thing, maybe gender. This name is also I'm making private. Age is private. Self dot gender equal to gender, and let's say whether it is accessible or not. Okay, see. Okay, I missed a comma. Yeah. So if you ask me how do I create a private variables? Okay, so these are basically private variables. Private variables you can create by using double underscore before the value. Okay, and before the value, right, before the variable name. So now let's see whether I am able to access these values outside of the function in a normal way or not. See, sometimes, right, so this name, age, all those things we call as a P2I data in the company. So this P2I data, you can't give the access to all other people in the company, right? So they may misuse it, or like a email of the member, or like a phone number of the member, right? These are all very sensitive data, you can't give it to anybody, right? So in that case, you can keep this as a restriction by using a private variable. Okay. So now let's say if I am using in the similar way, whether I am able to access it or not, right? Let's see whether I am able to access or like will it throw error. See, if you see here, what it is giving, person attribute has no, sorry, person object has no attribute underscore underscore name. Okay, so which means that you are not providing any access to them, correct? So that's the reason you won't be able to do. But let's say if I am accessing Zender here, right? See, I'm able to access, correct? This is a way of restricting the access by keeping like a private variables. We call this as a private variables. Okay. So now there's our own thing called protected variables. So what are the protected variables? The protected variables is nothing but in a similar way, but there will be little bit of less sensitive values. Okay. So those are like a maybe you can give it to only specific people or like a specific functionality. So those things called protected. You can keep like a single underscore here. Protected means single underscore. Double underscore is nothing but private. The most important information. Let's say this is personal information. Maybe some other modules only you want to provide. So for that, how do you access it? To access those things, you can use like a inheritance here, person and if maybe I'm initializing self, name, age, gender, and I'm calling super method to initialize the base class values. Okay, and then I'm passing those values to the base class to initialize it. And now let's say, okay, I'm calling my employee by passing guy 20, right? And then I'm creating an object called EMP. Now if I ask EMP dot name, okay. Okay, so this I need to call with the single underscore. Okay, so this is how we can access the protected variables. Okay. Any doubts about the basic things you need to understand what is the private, what is the protected, what is the public variables and all. So you just need to remember these three concepts, and then if somebody was asking where can I do use these things, right? So private, I told you, right? So whenever there is sensitive information like member details, you can keep that as a protected, sorry, private variables. You don't need to give it to any other projects or like other employees in your company. Okay. So this is about the encapsulation.